that have been taking place in the palace and outside the palace since Harry and Meghan decided to leave the United Kingdom, throw away their royal titles, many of the privileges that they had, and move to the United States where they have been. A film, well, Netflix series, 2 of them are already out, but now the book, Spare, came out this morning, and it's one of the booksellers are sort of saying this is one of the biggest sales, biggest pre-bookings they've had in a long time. Definitely detailing a lot of stuff. I mean, other than Prince Harry, for example, where he talks about the fact that he killed 25 Talibans. Yes, Lay, I got you. I won't be able to contribute as you're at work, but you will be able to listen. Thank you very much. I'll take note of that. Well, in the book, he talks about killing 25 Taliban, but of course now that has taken the Taliban now to respond very powerfully, sort of saying, you know, they might want to take revenge. And that now, of course, puts a price on the prince's head, but also means on the other hand, that they will have to, well, increase security to make sure that he's secure following that revelation. But beyond that, it's more the sort of personal stories that are coming out of this book. The fact that Prince Harry talks about the fact that he fought so hard, he was crying out, finding a lot of difficulty, especially in his relationship with Meghan and how it was received in the palace, trying to find support and failing to find that support. What could he have done? He says he failed to find the support. The palace, the royal family failed him, and therefore probably going out and doing what he has done. Some people have criticized that, but of course now some are saying probably that's him sort of trying to speak out. In fact, Harry's story at the moment has sort of brought in a sort of a generational divide. You find that younger people seem to be a lot more supportive of what he's doing, thinking it's time that he sort of spoke about how he felt and what things are happening. But on the other hand, the elderly are sort of saying there are family secrets that you never delve out. Probably in your own family situation, you might have had a person who was rogue. There are times that you come from a very strong Catholic family and you became a Muslim, you married a Muslim, or you became a Muslim out of your own volition, and then you are set as an outcast and thrown out of home. Maybe you grew up in a Muslim family and then you left Islam, and the kind of, you know, fallout that followed. Do you go out and then start spilling family secrets and so on? So that's the kind of situation. How would you have handled it if you are the father in a home that seems to be shaken by the possibility of a wreck, by the possibility of breaking up? Yes, Majuma, I've also seen your message. Sorry, I'm at work, might not talk. That's perfectly fine, as long as inshallah we shall be able to. But we are starting with September. The schools are going to be launching a compulsory in the United Kingdom. Starting September, it's going to be compulsory for all schools to teach what is called relationship studies. And these relationship studies, they, of course, are talking about same-sex relations. That has been pushed and expounded quite strongly. They've managed, the LGBT community has managed actually to make inroads into, you know, the media, into different lifestyles. Now they're part of the community, sort of accepted in the general life. However, when it comes to teaching children, for example, telling them that it's okay to have 2 fathers, it's okay to have 2 mothers, that has been controversial from the very start. The issue of transgender also now actually takes another very interesting step, because what has happened is that now women groups have come out strongly and, you know, painfully and have even gone to court to try to stop the idea of transgender, especially people who change from being men to becoming women, being allowed into public toilets, public female toilets. They're saying some pedophiles, some nasty people might just use that as a ploy to get in the women's changing rooms or toilets and be able to cause trouble there. So there's even in a country where we're supposed to have all the freedoms, when it came to this issue of transgender, that has now become a very hot issue here, with women going to court, women raising a lot of alarms not to allow transgender people to share toilets. People, especially who were originally men and they've become women, being allowed into female toilets. That now is taken on another issue. But as a parent, we've seen a particular parent, there's a clip that, Isma, once you're ready, please give us a hint. Once you're ready with the clip, We need to play this clip to sort of get us into the conversation tonight, inshallah. Some parents have taken the irregular step of taking their children out. Some parents have opted to go into home tuition, home tutoring, home education. They are teaching their own children from home. Not every parent can manage that, because that takes, you know, a particular style, particular means to be able to do that. Others have decided and said, no, to hell with here. They've carried their children and taken them away from here and to Africa, especially now talking about the Ugandan community here, those parents who have made the decision to say they are taking their children back home. Now, back home is a serious problem, because as you have seen and as you have heard lately in the media, there has been a lot of reports of schools where issues of homosexuality now have become a big issue in schools, in girls' schools, in boys' schools, people coming in and testifying that they had been paid to actually go, a lot of money actually beyond what any parent can afford as pocket money, given to these children in schools to go and propagate or recruit others into this. Someone just sent me a message that I found, and this is from Uganda. And I'll just read it probably while I wait. Isma, please, when you're ready, let's just know so that we can come to you. So that we have that clip, it will help inform our conversation. But I'm sure many of you have seen that BBC clip that has been doing the rounds on lots of media platforms. But for purposes of this conversation, it would be good just to have that conversation again. So the person who sent me a message said, hello, it's not a very good day for me. Please post for me. My 18-year-old son, who is in his senior 6 vacation, sat me down last night and revealed that he is gay. For a moment there, I felt as though my heart had stopped. I held on to hope for a few seconds, expecting him to say it's a joke. Instead, he went on to tell me that he started feeling that way back at the age of 9. Doreen, I have 3 children and he's my only son and the firstborn. I used to think that such stories only stem from international schools. I was wrong. My son has studied in only Catholic mixed schools from nursery to date. He sat his senior 6 in strict mixed Catholic school in Masaka. What went wrong? He didn't have the courage to tell his father, so I had to tell him. He was very furious and said he can't look at our son right now because he disgusts him. What should we do? This has been the most disciplined, very bright child in the family. God knows I asked him so many questions. My son told me that nobody influenced him, nobody taught him or forced him to be that. He has naturally felt like that for years. He only feels attracted to men and has been dating another 18-year-old for the last 2 years. There is a very dark cloud in my house. We don't know what else to do. Well, that's a conversation tonight. Welcome. My name is Kassim Kayira. It's 19 minutes past 8 o'clock in the United Kingdom. That will be 19 minutes past 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock in Uganda. And I think it should be coming to about the same time, about 3 o'clock, about 19 minutes past 3 o'clock in Boston, if I am right. I see a hand already up. I pray that Allah doesn't try me with this, with my child. I pray, and that is from Zenambega. So when your hand is already up, Isma, can you give me an indication, please, if you have that clip, so that then I just want to use that as a way to open up the conversation, because come September, it will be a must for all parents. It will be a must for all schools, rather, to have that relationship education. Ismail Kasibante and Soedi Masab, I've seen your hands. I'm just waiting for Isma to give me an indication. I wanted so much to have that clip for starters, to give us a hand into starting into the conversation as it is. Isma, do we have the clip ready, please? Hello, Isma, you can just speak to me directly. Okay, I can see, right. Okay, Isma, if the clip is ready, then we are ready for you. Let's have that clip, please. And that's the basis of the conversation. That should help to inform our conversation tonight. And that is starting September, it will be compulsory. Oh, okay. It will be compulsory for all schools in the United Kingdom to teach what is called relationship studies, and relationship studies that involve same-sex relationships, issues of transgender, and so on. So as a parent, have you had anything from the school? Have you received anything and probably had to sign on it? Ismail, I'll come to you in the United States, then go to Sowedi Masawa, first of all, as we wait for the clip to be ready. Ismail, you'll give me an indication when you are ready. Ismail, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your voice is very, very low, Ismail. We can hardly hear you. Probably it's on loud. Now we can hardly hear you. Hello?
You hear me now?
Yes, that's a lot better. Oh, okay, good enough. We'll come to you again. Sowedi Masawa, I'll come to you now. Sowedi, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me again on this program.
I mean, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Now, Sheikh Kayira, I want to begin off to say that, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, that first of all, what I want the other listeners and other contributors on this forum to put in mind is that the LGBT group, have one of the most powerful lobby groups around the world now.
Yes.
That fact we must accept now. Mm-hmm. They have a very powerful lobby. I can only compare it to the Jewish or lobby group in the US Senate. That's all I can say. That they are now influencing events around the globe. They have penetrated through every layer of every conservative government around the world. That they have squeezed them, that now they have started dancing to their tune. When you look at the time when the conservative embraced this kind of things, we are talking about the Conservative Party in this country. When David Cameron was a prime minister, they pushed legislation for same-sex marriage. That is when I knew that this country, we are done. I saw it coming personally. That's the time when my son was born back home. I had plans of getting them to this country, but at some point I brought them over. I realized things, I was going to struggle to come to terms with certain things. I just backed off. That, as if that wasn't enough, I've worked in Brighton at a local authority. For some of you who understand what Brighton is, I won't go into detail. But Brighton, for the benefit of other listeners who are maybe abroad, is the capital of Western Europe, the capital of LGBT in Western Europe or Western world. Everyone you may think of is in there. From China, they're all in there. They are so powerful, to the extent that when you go to live and work in Brighton, you are the odd man out. You are seen as an intruder into their territory. The workplace, every single group, and I say this without fear of contradiction, every single manager I pointed out, I saw in Brighton, in every department, at least two. If it's not a deputy or a manager, has to be either a lesbian or gay. You get it? So I was struggling. First of all, my mental health was affected in Brighton, to be honest. But thank God Allah, I managed to leave Brighton Council. God bless me with another job in a different local authority. But I really struggled. It was hard for me because every angle, every corner of Brighton you turn, this is what you could see. Men kissing in the public. And I was struggling because even when my son and my wife and children were here, at some point they wanted me to take them to Brighton. But what rang in my mind first was, what if my boy goes in there and he sees men kissing? He's going to ask me questions. It's one place I never took them. I never took them to visit Brighton, even when that was the place I was working. So back to Uganda. As we speak right now.
First, so slowly on there. Now, considering it comes September, it's going to be compulsory for all schools to teach relationship studies, amongst which will be, of course, at the heart of which there is this whole idea of same-sex relationships and same-sex relationships as well as transgender issues. What sort of advice would you have for a parent that is in the United Kingdom? You know, many of us, some parents have sort of made the option to go to take their children back home. Not everybody is in a position where they can do that. What sort of advice? First of all, your reaction now, because now with the lobby that you have mentioned, that pushes us into the depth of the conversation. They have come to a point where now this is now a part and parcel of the package that is being taken home. Come September, it's going to be compulsory for every child in school to study that. Your children are in Uganda, which makes it, well, that's another bit that we're going to touch on. But how would you advise, if your children were here, or how would you advise a parent whose children are here and are going to be studying that in school?
Now, with that one, my advice to the parents is, one, especially for couples that are living together, forget about the single parents. Single parents, it's a different story. I will advise them, for example, now I'm going to go onto the side of the Muslim parents. I would argue them, one, try your best. I know it's hard, but try your best to ground your children into deen to start with. Get them into deen so that when they go out there, prepare them for that world that has come now. Now, tsunami has now come. It's officially opening its doors in September. Try, if you've been there already, if they're already into the Islamic schools, madrasas in the evening, teach them. Let them be grounded. Have these conversations. It's time you open up these conversations with them and you tell them the red lines. Tell them that this is the red line. According to us, this is not this. I know the teachers are the teachers are doing the job of brainwashing them. But when they come home, you have few hours, you have less hours than the teachers do, but try and impact on them, influence them by talking to them, have the conversation, take them to them, connect them with their local masjid if they are turning into teenagers before they get out of hand, before they begin choosing their own friends. Try and choose the friends for them. Know which houses they are going to. I know a lot of us, we get so excited when our kids start picking certain groups of people. Oh, he's gone to his friends for a sleepover. Sleepover, do you know where they're going for a sleepover? It is high time you began interrogating all these things. It's high time you begin choosing friends for your kids before they begin choosing their own friends. I know at a certain point, children are allowed to choose their own friends. But at this time, because they're still under your stewardship, they're still under your control, try to impact on their lives by talking them, sharing them with a lot of knowledge. Talk about things, cut down on the amount of work you do, because some of us don't even see these kids because we get excited because these are UPE schools. Just put it that, UPE school model of Uganda.
But now, so wait, if you consider this, we send our children to schools to acquire knowledge. Now they have gone to school and they have acquired knowledge that we feel some parents will be feeling uncomfortable with. Then you come to deconstruct what the schools have impacted. What sort of message are we sending to the children? Are we not confusing the children?
Yeah, the other races have done it. Our co-counterparts, the Asians. How come the Asians do it? That's why the Home Secretary was brave to talk about. You remember that woman? She has said it will be hard, it will be bad. It is not unethical for the schools to just decide and give children choices over there without the involvement of their parents. Because with her, she's diverting from that. She has a different view of the whole story. And it's one thing I've liked about the Conservative this time around, that at least one person among them has been brave enough to come out.
Okay, so Eddie Masaba, thank you very much. I'll come back to you on the issue of Uganda, but Isma, let's first have that clip, probably for those who haven't watched it. We'll get a chance to sort of be able to see that. That should get us into the conversation. Shafika, I see your hand. Mariam Chisitu, your hand is up. I'll come to you off the back of this particular clip. Let's listen and watch this clip, which would help us now get into the conversation. Isma, ready when you are. There doesn't seem to be any sound, Isma. There's no sound. At least from this end, we can't hear any sound. Yeah, for some reason, there's no sound. And Isma, when you're ready with the sound, it looks like it's continuing to play with no sound. Let's be sure that we have sound. But in the meantime, there's no sound, Isma, if you can hear me. I'll just bring in Mariam Situ there and then kickstart as well into the conversation. Well, Isma, please sort out the sound. When you have the sound ready, we'll be ready. Mariam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome again to the conversation tonight. I remember a couple of months ago, actually, when the story broke out in Uganda, there was this lady who was talking about an experience that had befallen her when she found out that her child, a neighbor's child, had been abusing her child for quite some time. And it was the last place she thought any problem would come from. You contacted me and asked whether if we could run the program and see how long it has taken, but it has come to fruition. First of all, your reaction to this particular story. Come September, it will be compulsory for all schools to teach, well, what is called relationship education, but in other words, actually, it's a lot more a campaign that has been done by the LGBT community, especially talking about same-sex relationships. Children can have two fathers and two mothers, and that's perfectly fine. Your reaction to that?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Well, to begin with, we've got to accept that this is here. It's probably come to stay. We're going to have to live with it for the foreseeable future. In some schools, like my boys' school, it's already been introduced. It's been around because I remember a couple of years ago when one of my boys was, I think, in year 3, they had started introducing it, and they wrote to us as parents to say the classes were mandatory and every child had to attend those classes. So now some parents decided to withdraw, or stop their children from going to school or attending those classes and taking it upon themselves to take their children elsewhere. But personally, I have decided, or we have decided as a family, that it is the society that the children have been born into. Removing them and probably taking them back home might not be the best option. Like you rightly said, homeschooling might not suit everyone. It definitely won't be the best option for my family. And taking them back home to Uganda, the subject is just on an increase. It's just getting worse in Uganda. And also, there's no school that you're going to say that it's a faith school or not a faith school. It's everywhere. It's on an increase everywhere. So I think what Brother Sowed said is something that we are probably leaning on as a family, grounding our children, having open conversations. I've had this conversation with my now 10-year-old son. And I started off by asking him, do you understand what is homosexuality? What is your understanding of LGBT? And you would be surprised by how much he knows,
What did he say?
He understands that, in society, there's people who are of the same sex and they will fall in love, they'll like each other, they'll be boyfriend and girlfriend. He has friends who have 2 mummies and 2 daddies. And the same with my youngest child, and he's only in year 3, but he has, he says to you, Rose has 2 mummies, not real name, but so they are aware that it is there. And my older son will clearly tell you that, Mommy, I'm aware that Islam does not accept this, but we have to respect the people's choices, who have chosen that path. Now, where is he getting that? He's getting that from school, So we either get to accept as parents for these children to either to get this information, to be educated in school, or to be educated by the wrong people, giving them false information, wrong information. You understand? So I advise parents, just have open conversations with your children. whatever faith you might be, if you have a leap of faith, just pray to God as you put things into action as well. Speak to your children. Let school teach them or tell them whatever we have no choice about. But as parents, make time for your children. You know.
Now, Mariam, I'm struggling a little bit with this, and this program is not about LGBT bashing or whatever, because as you say, these are choices that people make. And they're not choices that have been forced onto people, but maybe it has just allowed people to come out in situations where things were done in private. I think President Museveni oftentimes talks about these issues as private issues that should not necessarily be brought to the fore. But now that they've been brought to the fore, they need to be addressed in that sense. Now, the dilemma I find is when you say that, you know, for heterosexuals, for example, when a child comes back from school, you being able to speak to them about, you know, what the Islamic teaching, for example, is regarding, you know, that. Wouldn't you be deconstructing what the schools are supposed to be imparting? That's where I'm struggling a little bit. School is supposed to be a place of enlightenment that you go to learn. Now that you've learned, to come home and be told otherwise, is that not creating a sort of a confusion in the mind of the child?
Not necessarily, because because if you educate them on what, you know, what their values are, what they stand for, school might say, yes, this is right, but they have to have an understanding of what their values are in life. So basically, my say line is, let school put in, and our goal is to put out, because it's not right. Eventually, the more you talk, the more you have these open conversations, one day, the older they get, they will be able to understand. The key thing is they've got to understand that this is society. These are choices that people make, but how does that impact them as Muslims, as practicing Muslims? Do you understand? So it might be confusing, yes, because of the age. But eventually, the more you keep talking, it's not a one-off kind of conversation. It's something that should be ongoing, regardless of whether they've had that relationship class in whatever year they've had it. Keep talking until they're of a certain age that they will be able to say that, you know what, it's actually not as confusing as I used to think it was when I was in year 5, year 3, year 2. So it will be confusing to a certain extent, depending on the age of the child. But that doesn't mean we should just sit back and say, do you know what, let school take over, let the government take over without doing anything.
Do you think religious leaders, for example, have let people down? Because when you see, Swedi Masaba was talking about, the LGBT has one thing that they've got very clearly, very well, is the issue of campaigning. They are very good in advocacy. They've penetrated all systems. They are all over the media. They are, you know, try and just post something that is seen or interpreted to be against, you know, LGBT, and you'll see how all of a sudden you could lose a job, your accounts would be closed. All of a sudden, this is how strong, you know, they've got to that. Has that now shut down religious leaders, where they would have come up to sort of say, this is what you're saying, but this is the Islamic position? Why haven't we had sort of people, probably religious leaders, coming out much more loudly to sort of say, this is the position? Because like in Africa, there was a whole idea of bishops and clergy within the church who sort of stood firm and said, do not force this upon us. In Africa, you can have it in the West as you want. In fact, it was also part of Latin America to an extent, but the strong voices were from Africa. Leaders who sort of stood up and said, yes, this is your Western way, you've accepted it the way it is, respect our African way as well, because it is there. When it comes to the issue of respect and, you know, respect for human rights, your human rights, I also means that I also have human rights. Your human rights cannot overshadow my human rights, if you see what I mean. Has there been a, do you think the religious leaders have spoken loud enough to be heard for a position to be taken?
Not at all, not at all. Not even just religious leaders from a wider perspective, even within just a small local communities. I don't think we've given it that much big a voice like we really should, that we give to probably issues that are probably less pressing than this. So I think religious leaders could do more. So that's why I said, when it comes back to the confusion of school putting in whatever they want to put into our children's heads, I think if, as we wait on religious leaders to, to voice out, about this issue, as parents, we should do more, because it's a timing bomb. Time is clicking. Time is really against us, Our children are being exposed to a lot on all their gadgets, all their cartoons, all their networks, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix, it's on every single. So as we wait on religious leaders, really, I don't think they've done enough. I haven't seen a lot of religious leaders come out to say, do you know what, this is what it is wrong, sign this petition and all that. Even just on a local level in my own community, I haven't seen it. I've seen it on discussions on some platforms, but probably not to, we need to hear it more on Friday sermons, for example, during half term. It should be something that should be spoken about on weekly half terms or the half terms where we have 2 weeks, so that our parents should be encouraged to attend the sermons with their children so that they're listening. So I don't think enough has been done. We could do more, really, as a community.
Thank you very much, Mariam. I'll go to Shafiq, whose hand has been up for long. Thank you very much, Mariam. And like I said, I'll emphasize, we've not come here to LGBT bash, but we're just discussing this conversation because, especially from our own communities, from many of our communities, this is an issue of concern. Isma, if the clip is ready, I think I would be very happy. At least it would really help to sort of shape up the conversation, just to sort of help to put everything into perspective. Those parents that have decided to say, we are taking our children out. And then Shafiq, I'll come to you.
First tonight,
Yeah, you're ready, Isma.
Says it's against the will of God. That's the view of a London mother who's taken her son out of primary school in protest against lessons about same-sex relationships. And Izzy Montague says she's not the only parent unhappy. Lessons about relationships will become compulsory in schools from September next year, but incorporating same-sex relationships and transgender issues have proved controversial. Head teachers and campaigners say it's right for schools to promote inclusivity. Anna O'Neill has the story.
And then, crack! Out came their very own baby.
A group of 5- and 6-year-olds at a school in Dartford learning about different kinds of families.
It doesn't matter if it's a girl and a girl and a boy, or a boy and a boy, and then they get married, and then, yeah.
The head of this school is a gay man with 4 adopted children. He says it's important that children understand that same-sex relationships exist.
I think it's about 5-year-olds understanding that within their class there are going to be 30 children with all sorts of different families. My own daughter goes to a school, she has 2 dads. I wouldn't be having this discussion about teaching your child to swim. I don't think we should be having this discussion about teaching every child about differences within our society.
At the moment, schools can choose to teach about relationships or not. But from next year, relationships education will be compulsory in primary schools, and same-sex relationships could be part of that teaching. Some parents are not happy. This mother took her child out of school because she said it pushed an aggressively gay-friendly agenda. For her, it's a matter of faith.
It's not anything like race or age.
People are not born gay?
I don't believe they are. If you show me a gay gene, just like if you show me any genes such as like race or something indicative that is biological, I do personally believe that there is a biological drive, but because it's not something that you can determine by science to say that somebody is gay, you cannot say, well, somebody is born gay. It's a choice.
Her former school told us it teaches tolerance, inclusivity and equality for everybody and encourages all pupils to celebrate their differences. Gay rights campaigners say it's crucial that children learn about different kinds of people in order to be a more tolerant society.
We've seen statistics from Stonewall about the amount of children and young people that are attempting to take their own life because they're being bullied for being LGBT. this isn't just about teaching, it's about saving lives potentially, and that's why it's crucial.
If you've heard that phrase, oh, that's so gay.
The guidance says schools can decide what is appropriate to teach and when, but LGBT people should be respected in British society and their relationships protected by law. Anna O'Neill, BBC London News.
Well, with me here is the mum in Anna's report, Izzy Montague, and author Ollie Pike, who's a children's author, as I just said, and campaigns for more education of LGBT plus relationships in school. Welcome to you both. Izzy, you explained in that report there, but can we just clarify, is it the topic itself or the age that it's being taught?
The topic itself. I don't personally believe that this is a topic that needs to be taught in school. Everything has a purpose. School's purpose is to academically teach our children, and it's got nothing to do with sexual lifestyles or desires or relationships.
But by next year, all children will be learning about relationships and families, not necessarily sex education, but relationships and families. Aren't same-sex relationships part of that conversation? Families come in all shapes and sizes.
No, families don't come in all shapes and sizes. We decide what happens in our families, and that's the thing. Some people might say, well, this is right for me. Some people disagree with it. Don't think you should teach everything to a child just because people think it's right for them. I don't believe that there is such a thing as two mums or two dads. There isn't. Biologically, there isn't.
Ollie's itching to get in.
I just want to say, I think it's the school's responsibility to prepare children for life in modern Britain, and we know that's the case. And this isn't just about teaching them about different types of people and different families, it's about saving lives. As I said, we know LGBT plus children experience like a higher volume of bullying, and they're attempting to take their own life on some serious occasions, and we just need to put a stop to it.
But this is not anything to do with schools or how people, you can't change the way how people think. People naturally obviously have feelings towards certain things, and you can't just indoctrinate other people's children. It's not saving lives. I mean, these are sound bites and jargon that's constantly churned out, which you have no proof to say that teaching people...
We have got proof, Izzy. We've got proof from Stonewall School Report 2017, Just Like Us report, like...
All of which are LGBT campaign groups. They're nothing, to do... They're unbiased. They're not unbiased, are they? They're very biased. They're going out deliberately trying to prove that this is the causative factor.
They're here to support LGBT plus people and save LGBT plus lives.
But how about there's many children at the school who are not LGBT? How do you know that by confusing other children who do not have these issues at school is going to cause more problems for them? I was one of those children at school who I was a Christian girl at school, and anybody teaching me that it's wrong would make me feel that, or make me feel that my feelings were wrong about this, would make me feel bad.
Let me just bring Ollie in there. Do you wish that you had been taught something like this in school?
Absolutely, and that's the reason why I'm doing this, because I felt so lonely growing up. I felt like something was wrong with me. On occasions, I wasn't sure who I was and felt like I wasn't allowed to be myself. And I still have issues from that today. And that's a big driving factor as to why I create this content.
Can I just say, though, children aren't born with any kind of homophobia. Anything that helps increase tolerance in our society, isn't that a good thing?
Well, you have to, we have to define homophobia, and we have to make sure that people are understanding what tolerance is. Tolerance is to be able to agree to disagree. This is exactly what's going on in schools at the moment. You have people who are agreeing to disagree. You can't force your agenda onto other people.
What you're trying to do.
Okay, Izzy, let me give the last point to you, Ollie.
We don't want to be tolerated, we want to be accepted, Izzy.
Okay. We could carry on, but I'm afraid we have to leave it there. To you both, thank you very much indeed for coming in and sharing.
Well, thank you very much, Isma. I'm sure now for our viewers and listeners, you can see the kind of conversation that we have been going through, a conversation that is still ongoing. Of course, the debate is huge. It's as controversial from the day it was introduced as it is now. And you can see from the messages here, someone say, this is Mariam, this is what I was talking about. It's already been introduced in some schools, just becoming compulsory in September. And Kassim all the way in the United States says, subhanallah, looks like we are running out of time to make adjustments in child upbringing in the diaspora community. Here in Boston, the Muslim community is coming or seeing this coming. We are trying to establish a religious center to help overcome these and more behaviors, miseducations, and so on, so that our children can learn the truth. Hajj is already coming to say, as head of the family who lives here and your faith is against LGBT lifestyle, you have a right to make sure that your kid is aware of he or she will be going through, of what they will be going through. It's the same way they are teaching them about sex at 11 years old, and you as a parent have to take matters in your own hand. Shafiq, your hand has been up for a long time. Apologies for that, but I'm sure there was need to sort of get this grounded. Welcome to the conversation, Shafiq. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I'd like to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has obviously enabled us to be here. And also, may peace and blessing be to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I will again thank you, Dr. Sheikh Kassim, everything in your capacity for what you do for the community, but we really appreciate, and I know up there or down there, anywhere in the world, there's someone appreciating, because you inspire us a lot. On this topic, subhanallah, it started as a joke, but now obviously we're facing it. I would like to touch upon obviously Mariam's point, whereby he mentioned about the religious, especially religious, talk about where religious leaders, how they've kind of like not preached about it. First of all, it's a big thing, and if you kind of like compare our religious leader on how they've been conveying the message and what problem they've been facing, they've not been facing such problems. So it's really kind of like, it's the young generation of, you know, young parents who are growing up, because they relate easily in the environment we're working in, to try, and we come together and we try to we fight this. Because I'll give an example. Me and my dad, I don't think my dad told me that, I think you won't be gay. We didn't have this conversation. However, me to my son, I can right now, because I've seen it. I can sit down and have a chat with him. The environment plays a bigger part of kind of like how we're going to stop, obviously, how we're going to start attacking this point. Another thing, obviously, will be Uganda. There's no chance. I had a story, and subhanallah, it's so surprising. I won't mention the institution, but this was a Muslim school. And the teacher who was teaching the kids, he was the one doing it. And this was Uganda. So for Uganda, I don't see any point. Uganda is the same as here, or even more, because in Uganda, they even pay money. They target school. People go and report that, we're sending you to that school. Go and do this. The people are getting paid in Uganda to spread this to our kids. And it doesn't matter what school, religious, not religious. They don't care. So for Uganda, I don't see is a point. Over here, what can we do obviously as a community? There are certain things that us, Black people, we need to start and copy from our other communities. Look at Indians. Look at the Indians, how they kind of like work together in terms of the community aspect. How do they work in terms of like keeping getting back to their culture and how they want to develop. So we need to kind of like try and learn from them communities. So I'll give an example here. In the UK, we've got a community of Muslims, but how often do parents check in and come in and, you know, if there's something, they bring the kids? Because kids, when you bring them, they're learning from other kids from there. They kind of like talk to each friends within the community. But the more the kids are know with the friends in the community, still they're going to get other friends. And you don't know what these friends, the new friends what they're going to be teaching them. However, if they're in the same community, it's so easy. Hence why in my community in Uganda, I know people who are gay. I know them. And if someone goes to speak to them, I'll tell them straight that, you're going to speak to this person, but he's gay, so be careful. Because a gay person or someone, all they want is to influence and bring in more people within that group.
Shafiq, when you say you're going to speak to a gay person, be careful. What do you mean? They are not going to harm you. They are not going to.
No, they're not going to harm you. But they're
so when you say be careful, what do you mean?
Not to change their mind. Because the more you live with a group, what happens to you? What happens to you when you live with a group? There's a saying: a bird with the same feather fly together.
They flock together. Yes,
they flock together. So,
but it might be relating with them in other ways. I mean, quite often you'll find that these people, they are very friendly. They might be helpful in other ways.
Yes, I know.
When you talk about being careful, is it about when this is the campaign that is at play?
No, because I'll give an example.
Right.
You might go there because we've learned, if you look at research, the gay or
you muted yourself, Shafiq. You muted yourself. We can't hear you. You muted yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back.
There's some of the most group that use drugs. Have you did research? Have you done research about that, or have you read about that, Mr. Kayira?
No, I haven't. I haven't done about
that. Their depression is high. Research is there. So when you go with them, they might be giving you if they're giving you something obviously important, I don't have any issue. But
right, Shafiq, can we bring it to the school environment? Because I think now as a parent, you are a parent already now. And considering September is coming, how are you going to deal with that situation? I think let's keep it within the confines of that. It might be easier.
Okay. So how am I going to deal with the parents? How am I going to deal with my kids? Obviously, is right now to prepare myself to tell my kid how everything is, what you've learned to school. This is the religion you live in, the religion we believe. This is what is teaching us. So be careful what you're learning to school.
All right.
Try to create an environment where I'm not scared of speaking with my kids about obviously points or lessons that I was scared to speak with my dad at my age. So I'm trying to do that. Also, right on the religion aspect, obviously to try to tell our leaders to speak about it, because what I've seen in our community, the topic that we kind of like keep separate and we don't teach it, but right now it's affecting us. It's affecting us, and for this I don't blame the Sheikh, because maybe the way they've been obviously conveying the message, but right now I think they need to preach that. They need to preach it the way it is.
Right. It's time to sort of look it straight. We might have underestimated it. The time has come to sort of speak about it in the context of you are not dealing with the sinner, but rather the sin. So you are addressing the sin as it is.
Yeah, as it
because
is.
To a Muslim, that is a sin.
Yeah, it is a sin. So that's we don't need to be,
because you don't want to create hatred. It's not about you don't want to be seen as homophobic. You know how quickly that sort of flies in the face of that. But I think some boundaries need to be drawn to be clearly saying, from our beliefs, this is what we stand for. You look and see that, for example, in the Jewish community, this might not be a problem. Well, of course, much as they might have it there, but it's not a problem because they run their own schools and therefore will determine what is taught. So probably it's time to start thinking along the lines of, can you introduce your own schools? And then, because it has been a bit voluntary before that, deciding whether you should teach or you shouldn't teach. Shafiq, I'm only leaving you because we've got so many people on here, and I'd like to widen the conversation. Thank you very, very much, I think, for that insight. Barakallahu fikum. It's very late in Uganda. It's getting quite late, and I've managed to get through to several head teachers, all gathered in Chankwanzi now at the National Leadership Institute, who have been undergoing training. And I flagged the idea, and the idea seems to have gone down well. So we might be able to hear from some of the big schools that you know in Uganda at the moment, sort of how they are dealing, whether they see this as a problem, whether it is a threat or it's any fear. Just sort of widen that, simply because it's nearly midnight. Actually, it's midnight already in Uganda now. So I'll bring in the Ugandans quickly, and then I'll come back to the UK people. And I've got a headmistress of Lowell Girls School, Aisha Namkwaya. She's my sister. That is a caveat. Well, she's in Chankwanzi at the moment, alongside several other head teachers. Hajat Aisha, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
Thank you very much for joining us. I know it's very late and you've had a long day of training where you are. So thank you very much for making the time. We appreciate it very much. We are discussing the issue that it is going to be compulsory come September in the United Kingdom for all schools, primary schools, to teach what is called relationship studies, but ultimately it's really LGBT plus studies in schools. First of all, is it a problem in your school at all? We've been hearing a lot of stories going around schools in Uganda. Yours is a girls' school. Have you had, well, let me first of all get your own reaction towards that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kayira, and our dear listeners. We are here in Chankwanzi, Alhamdulillah. We are many, but we have been engaged so much, and we are still even in sessions.
Right.
But we have managed at least to sneak in.
So how many other head teachers do you have with you?
Here around me, there are very many. In fact, in total, we are 514.
No, I'm saying the ones that you have at the moment that we might be able to chip into the conversation, the ones listening in, or it's only you who has managed to run away?
Yes, I've managed to run away, but I think some are already there.
But they're already on.
Yes, they are already
Well, please, if you're one of the head teachers, if you could just flag up, the Zoom way, just raise your hand so that I can see you, then I'll come to you because it's late. We'd rather hear from you and then we will let you go. Yes, Aisha Namkwaya, please go ahead. In your school now, have you had any problem of, of these same-sex relations coming up in schools, in your school?
Particularly not mine. Let me talk in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in Uganda, we have two types of schools. We have private schools and government schools.
Right.
So, Mr. Kayira and our dear listeners, this thing, we shouldn't give it a romantic approach. You see, let's try this, let's do this. No. And for me, my take is we have to begin at home. But here, the schools that we have that are government, if it is a policy and it has come, it's very difficult to change. And the kind of Africa, they bring funding, they bring aid, they bring etc. You want it, but then, it's a quid pro quo. You give and take. They don't just bring the aid and just go like that.
Mm.
So that's the challenge we are having. So, Mr. Kayira and our dear listeners, I would like to tell you that this practice is already here in Uganda, and even our facilitators, the measures are not specified. They've been saying you teachers are keeping quiet, but this thing is eating you there silently. Don't want to come out and speak about it. But then now what they've done, they've gone to primary schools. Now they began from there, because now when these students come to secondary, maybe they are somehow mature, they can make decisions. But now the thing is in primary schools, right from P3. And we have had experiences on radio, we have had clips, everything. These people are giving witness. But remember, where it is done, it is just an exit. It is okay, you can enter, but then whatever you put there, it is an exit. It's supposed to be just an exit. So today we have been addressing the issue of HIV/AIDS, and they said the vulnerability of people having HIV and AIDS who are engaged in this act is very, very high. So Mr. Kayira and our dear listeners, I would like to say it is with us.
So in your school, what have you done to mitigate the situation then, if you say it's with us?
Very good. So what we are doing, we are putting the SPY network, the networks we use in school, as far as maybe fire and even other mischiefs are concerned. So that one is an issue. And we put a rule, not saying maybe we don't want lesbians or homosexuals, but we said if we were found sleeping too in a bed, that is an offense that is tantamount to expulsion. Those are some of the measures we are putting in place. Then the guidance and counseling is going on, and it is intensive, and we are talking about homosexuality, lesbian, gayism on every assembly. We make it a point, we've made it a policy to speak about it. Then the other issue we have, if we identify students, we sat as head teachers and said, should we be chasing away these students? They'll be going to private schools. You know, they mind numbers. They don't mind quality or whatever. They want numbers because they are capitalists. They are minimizing costs and maximizing profits. So we said once we identify these students, it's not so logical to just send them away. So we identified a rehabilitation center under the Uganda Muslim Women Vision. We sat as UMA is Muslim Head Teachers Association. We said, let us use that center as a rehab. Because as you send her away, she's just contaminating the other people outside. So it's not enough to just send them. But my take as a head teacher and as a parent, I'm requesting we can intensify these talks at home. As one speaker there said, you shouldn't keep quiet. Yes, we should talk about it head on. We tell there is this, it is happening, but according to the Quran, according to our norms, according to etc., it's not acceptable.
We are hearing cases of where people have been financed and given a lot of money to sort of come and preach that particular gospel or spread it within schools. In your school, are you saying that it has not, your SPY network hasn't brought that to your attention? It's not in your school, at least?
Particularly in mine, no. But in other schools, I've heard about it. I've seen students, they have a lot of money. They have all that it takes to pursue a youth. And you know, these days, the problem, the youth don't want to work and they want money. So they just want things to happen miraculously minus working for them. So that's why we should intensify it at home. That money is there and it is given in millions. It is there. And I believe and I've seen it's not just an assumption.
Right, okay. Ajataisha Namkwaya, Headmistress, Lowell Girls School in Nachireve. Thank you very much. If there are any other head teachers, please, because I'm sure you are listening into the conversation, please, if you can just raise your hand and I'll come to you, because we wanted to listen to you Ugandans before, because it's quite late and tomorrow you have other activities ongoing. So I think I'd rather make sure we hear from you as the people on the ground, on the front line, dealing with these situations from a management perspective, just to hear your own take as to how you've managed to deal with it. Or because it has really come in and it has settled. It's a question of seeing how do we address it, how do we deal with it within our own communities. Hajati Sarah Nansups, I'll bring you on, but if there are any other head teachers, Hajati Aisha Namkwaya, please, if you have any of those head teachers, if they have logged on, please just probably give me a hint and I'll click and ask them to unmute so that we can hear from you before we let you go. It's pretty late in Uganda. At the moment, it's past midnight, and we do not want to keep you very long, but I'm sure you'll be enjoying hearing this conversation as it goes on. Hajati Sarah Nansups, I'd like to come to you. There's a clip that you shared. This is very clip that we have been having a conversation about. It's of course now went out and spread out, and we started having a conversation around it, and from it we've ended up having tonight's conversation. First of all, your own take about September and the compulsory education onto children.
Wow, it's a very delicate area. not only in our community, but in lots and lots of communities. It is here to stay. I'll first and foremost share the experience within my own house, right. Whereby I have an 11-year-old, and I did talk about this, and she said to me, "Oh, I'm not gay, but I have to support." In fact, let me read you the message. Even today, when I just said her to, it will be good to read you her response, just so you know the challenge. This is an 11-year-old. So I say, today we're going to discuss LGBTQ issues. And she goes, "I don't need to, I'm not being rude. I don't support LGBTQ, but I respect their wishes, and they are normal people like us. So I don't want to tune in though." And this is her understanding. I respect their wishes, and they are normal people like us. This is in my house, an 11-year-old. So the issue is a very delicate issue. I think for me, the community, we cannot shy away from the issue. Raising awareness and making the children understand how you feel, and related to the dean. Imposing or enforcing it in any other way, for the community, this is not going to make any impact. The children need to understand what Islam says versus what the community or the educational expectations are. And for parents, as you know, that now we have regulated provisions like Ofsted. I think the clip I sent you was exactly in relation to that, where we have regulated provisions. You're not going to be able to tell your child to, where it's compulsory that they're not going to attend sessions in that aspect. We need to teach tolerance, but we also need to teach them what the religious aspect is expected of them. That by doing that, just like the way we teach our children that the right and the wrong, from your perspective as a parent, that's the best approach. But in the meantime, it's a very, very sensitive.
So just like we talk about alcohol, we talk about, or we talk drugs against alcohol, talk against drugs or drug use or drug abuse, we should be addressing this as well from the same perspective.
It's exactly the same approach. Not any other approach is going to work, because somebody, I've listened to this program from the beginning, and we've had a very big example of where a child is being in a religious establishment, right? And that child from that very religious establishment, which you think if you are in a purely religious school, Catholic school, in a boarding school, you are safe. And this, it's exactly what the result of that is, the opposite of what that parent got. This kid is turned out to be totally the opposite of a child who goes to a different normal open school. So even you open up your own schools, you remember that this child who goes to, say, a pure Islamic school is going to come out and meet other people outside that school. And you're not going to control the kid on the block to say, and that is the biggest influence the child has. Sorry, I need to turn off my phone.
No problem. Eddie, I can see your hand is up, and Haj.
So literally, it's the information you are giving your child at home, and you knowing your child, and you knowing who they go out with, and teaching them out what is out there, and you support them to say, you know, okay, we don't do this, we don't do this, we don't. You just need to be a parent, and a parent who knows your child.
Thank you very much, Hajat Sarah, and I'm only stopping you there so that I can bring in more people. Today is quite heavy, 16 minutes past 9 o'clock, always aware of time. Keep checking the time. The program is Come. Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75W Radio. We are live on Umma Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom, where I go to Eddie. Eddie, your hand has been going up and down. I don't know whether you are struggling to decide whether you are clapping or raising your hand, but I kept seeing both. Welcome to the conversation, Eddie.
Thank you. You're delighted to have me. Huh?
Yes. How are you today?
My name is Eddie. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So we've got to talk about so many things. Yeah. We've got to talk about the reality. Yeah. You've got to understand the reality. Yeah. The world has changed. Yes.
So Eddie, where are you based? Are you in the United Kingdom?
I'm in the United Kingdom, but I won't tell you where I am.
No. I wasn't asking your house number.
Yeah,
I just wanted to be sure.
No, house number
put it in the
doesn't
context
mean
of the
anything.
conversation.
Yeah, in the context. Yeah. I'm in the UK, huh? But we've got to shift from where we were. Everything has changed, you know.
What has changed?
Everything has changed. In Uganda, people are gay. In United States, in the UK, but we've got to understand one or two things. Our society doesn't allow such a behavior, but we've got to allow such a behavior.
No, that's a bit confusing. Our society doesn't allow such behavior, but we've got to allow such behavior. Or we say we have to accept that it is there.
You've got to accept it.
You have to acknowledge. We have to acknowledge that it is there. We might not necessarily
like
accept.
it or not. Yeah, like it. You've got to do everything. You've got to accept it. You've got to like it. I mean, but where we come from, it's not accepted. Yeah, it's not allowed. Yeah. So if we go down to our children, yeah, I have a son who is 11 years, and the second one has 3. Yeah, you've got to talk to them. Yeah, you've got to lecture them, but you can't stop. The world has changed. You know.
So Eddie, let me get this. Come September, it's going to be compulsory for your children to be taught about relationship studies, which
because
in essence is about same-sex relationships and so on. So what I'm asking Eddie is, are you concerned about it at all, or is that a conversation you've had with your children already?
Okay, in the neighborhood, I have a woman who's. I don't find it disgusting to women, but I find it disgusting to men. Yes? At the neighborhood, I have a woman. At the neighborhood, I have a man. Yes? You've got to know that things have changed, you know? You've got to talk to your own kid or your own children. I wanted to bring up something, yeah? Recently, I was in Uganda 2 weeks back, yeah? They told me a certain Muslim school, yeah? Yes?
I'm listening here.
A big Muslim school in Uganda. I won't mention the name, yeah? Kids were called and they were doing such things. I can't pronounce what they were doing, yeah? But there was a certain Muslim school that I know of a child who means a lot to me that was doing the same thing. Yes, we've got to be very careful, but at the same time, we've got to know that you can never do anything.
So Eddie, because so many hands are going up, I wanted to get this clearly from you. What sort of conversation are you having with your 3-year-old and 11-year-old regarding what you're saying cannot be changed now?
What matters is you've got to talk to your own children, leave alone what happens everywhere else. You've got to talk to your own children. You can never control what happens elsewhere. You've got
so
to talk
what sort of conversation are you having with your children, Eddie? That's what I'm trying to sort of hear from you, please.
Oh, okay. For now, my son is 11 and the other one is 3. the one who's free, I mean, he barely knows nothing, yeah? Okay. The thing is, yeah, talk to your own child. You can't determine what happens elsewhere.
Absolutely.
You can
Eddie,
never,
I'm hearing you, but then you're going round and round on that same issue.
No,
So
they go
Eddie,
to
let me
school.
put it to you again.
Sorry. They go to school. They go to school. You can't determine what happens at school.
So,
yes.
And Eddie,
talk
I'm
to your own
asking you
children.
then the question.
Yeah?
Eddie, I'm asking you the question, sir. Please, if you can respond to the question. My question is, what sort of conversation have you had, or will you have, or are you having with your 11-year-old? The 3-year-old is still very young. There are those things that you can't change. Are you happy for him? Yeah. Are you happy for your son, the 11-year-old, or rather even the 3-year-old, to be taught about same-sex relations?
Do you know what I told you first, yeah? We've got cultures. I come from Uganda. I always be a Ugandan, yeah? He knows that in our culture, we don't accept that. Yes? We do not accept that. Yes? Can I tell you?
I'm hearing.
In Uganda, we do not accept that. Even if I'm a lawyer, I'm studying to be a lawyer, yeah? Right. We do not accept that. It's not something to be talked about. We do not accept that.
Right. Okay. Maybe it will become much more clearer. Let me bring in Hajat Sarah Semakura. Hajat Sarah Semakura, you've been listening to Eddie and probably you want to speak to Eddie, or you have your own take. It's perfectly fine. Go ahead.
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I do understand what Eddie is talking about, and I really respect his argument.
Yes.
But I would want to take you back and tell you that homosexuality is not new in any society. Because even me, as I was in my, when I was doing my school education, I happened to go in a single girls' school, and it was something that used to happen. And it did really happen mainly in single girls and boys' schools. So it's not a new thing. It's a shame that it's now been brought up and it's now going to be taught to our children. That is the main worry, because us as Africans, we have a culture whereby we find it like it's a taboo to speak about sex. We hardly mention that topic in our homes, yet we expect children to know about it, but we can never bring ourselves to talk about it. So I really feel sad for the parents of today who have to discuss such a topic to children who are very, very young. Because when you look at the time now they are introducing this kind of talk or education, is starting at a very, very tender age. So I'm quite worried. And I can understand and feel Eddie's emotions, because I'm sure he's bitter about what is going to happen. And he must be worried as a young parent, because he also has some young children.
Eddie hasn't come out so straight to sort of clearly state what sort of conversation
sorry.
having with Sarah.
I don't know if I can join, yeah?
Yes, speak to Sarah. I'll have about a minute, and then so many hands are coming up. I think we'll need to allow the conversation to widen.
I'll be honest, yeah. I want to be a president of Uganda. I'll be honest to you, yeah. Even President Museveni, yeah, he failed to make a submission on that, and he wasn't sure if we would ever allow homosexuality or we don't allow it. I told you back to back, I have people who stay with me, yeah. So you've got to be careful what you say, or what you do. But the thing is, we do not allow homosexuality in our country. Take a position, I'll take a position on that. We do not allow that.
So at least finally I'm sort of get clarity. Yes. But as a conversation with your son, what sort of conversation?
My son knows.
The
thing is, yeah, if he sees a woman, okay, I'll leave it at that. It's okay, it's fine. I'll leave it at that. If my son sees a girl, I'll support him, because we've been like where we come from, yeah? If you see a girl when you're 13 or 14, they do not allow you, yeah, to actually, it's something that we should think about as Africans, yeah? Yes?
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
No.
Are you saying we should allow our children to start dating so that we can be sure that
you should allow them because, two things that you regret, you regret coming to Europe because you won't be happy if you allowed, if you and your son became gay. Or, I mean, me, I'll be honest to you, I don't not support that. Even if the whites at some point they don't support my cause, I will make sure that yes, but we have values in Africa. We have values.
Right.
We
No,
have
thank you very
culture.
much, Eddie.
We should stand on that.
I get you on that. Thank you very much, Eddie. I'll only leave you so that then we can bring in more people. Sarah, I'll just finish up with you and then we widen out the conversation. Regina Namatov, who I think is a newbie to the conversation, is saying it's all about power and control. That's why some organizations now, men and women, use same toilets. Is that empowerment now? Right. There was a message here that I just missed out. It's not. Oh, I think I've missed the message. Oh, yes. No, it's all about power. I think that was the message. Sarah, go ahead, please, and then I'll bring in Jaden.
Actually, I had made my submission. I think
right.
everyone is
Okay,
so worried
that's
about
the
delicacy of the issue.
Yes.
Because you are not supposed to, what do they call it? Segregate.
Yes.
Yeah, if you talk about it in a negative way, then you'll be taken up as someone who is discriminating. So it is quite a sensitive issue where we stand, and we have to be very careful.
27 minutes past 9 o'clock. Hajat Sarah, barakallahu fikum. Jaden, you are next, and then I'll go to Justin, and I'll come to Soweto, but many hands are still up. The conversation is ongoing. The program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75 W Radio. We are live on Umma Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. Jaden, you have the mic. Welcome to the conversation. Are you worried about September 2023?
Yes, I'm worried on two grounds. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
I think listening to all the previous speakers, the emotions that is coming out is kind of clouding our vision, because as we speak today, we don't know what the curriculum is like, because it's like saying it's a new subject, biology is going to be introduced into school, but you don't know what that biology entails. So we're just listening to LGBT and relationship, not really LGBT, we're listening at relationship studies, but we don't know what the content is. So my advice would be, let us park and wait for the content of that curriculum.
I
if
think
we don't have
the
the time,
curriculum would be out, since it's going to be studied. Due to public information, access to public information, you could actually have access to that. The curriculum is a public document. It's not a secret, which means we can actually delve into a bit of it. I've seen little bits and pieces of it. But this one specifically, and that's why you see the BBC tagline there on the clip that we had a conversation about. They went straight to put it as LGBTQ studies. They didn't go around relationship studies and so on. These are all the fancy semantics that surround it, but ultimately it's down to that.
Yes,
and they were very clear about it. So in terms of content, of course,
if we make ourselves clear on the content, then we'll have a stronger ground either to challenge it or to acknowledge it. But my questions are, what is it that is in that content which our children already don't know? They get this information from the internet, they get this information from their friends, they get this information from all sorts of
from
media.
Netflix and all the programs.
From
I mean,
everything.
You look at Peppa Pig. Actually, while you are at it, Jaden, allow me, please. Stay on, but let me just bring on Laila Kaddu, who had a very interesting conversation with the daughter. Stay on, because
just before you say that, Newcastle is winning 2-0.
Who? Arsenal?
Newcastle.
The machines will be going red here very soon. That's understood. No, Jaden, don't go away. I would like to still have you on. I just wanted to bring in Laila Kaddu, because Laila Kaddu has a daughter, and they've had a conversation along this, and the content is already out there, actually, while you're still thinking that we are going to have that conversation. Laila, assalamu alaikum. Are you in position to come on? Hello, Laila. Because I had heard about the conversation with the daughter, and I found it pretty. Let me just see if I can actually.
While Leila we are waiting to unmute Leila. The second point that I wanted to make is that this started a long time ago. They tied our hands in so many ways, but the one that I wanted to point out is when they introduced the Equality Act in 2010, that was the beginning of tying our hands, because that included discrimination against all kinds of things. Now, for us as Black people and minorities, we're celebrating that act because it was going to protect us. We suffered a lot prior to that, that act. We're discriminated in the streets, we're discriminated in employment, we're discriminated everywhere. So we're celebrating that. But these people were looking at the longer term. So
the bigger context. And actually, you know, the interesting thing with the equalities aspect is the fact that it actually spreads out. As Muslims, we have, you know, as Blacks, we were to benefit from that. As Muslims, every inroad that is made, you start making an inroad into areas that were sort of unacceptable. Parents now are allowed to go into schools and sort of ask for their children to be pulled out of school on a Friday to go for Friday prayers, as long as they will be brought back very quickly. Schools are beginning to accept that, and it's all falling within the confines of equality. So the thing is pretty wide, but then you sort of start picking and choosing what works for you, and somebody else is pushing an agenda because they've already seen the loophole, and they definitely go down for it.
Exactly. So that is one rope which has got many strings, which ties our hands. Because if you mention or if you say anything that is construed to be against the LGBT group, then you are breaking the law. So they will tie you based on the law and not based on just that group. So we celebrated that, and we should find a way of circumventing that or using that law in terms of our favor. Now, the second thing that I wanted the third thing rather, is that
Laila was already here, yeah.
The responsibility has been removed from parents. As a one-time social worker, I know it clearly that if you spoke to your son or daughter in a certain way, if you restricted your daughter or son from going for a sleepover, for example, social workers will be on you as a ton of bricks, because you are denying your child the rights to participate in civil society. And you are not there to question what your child is going to do there. It's just the child has the right to go for a sleepover. The child has got the right for association. So our hands as parents have been tied. You cannot discipline your child, even verbally, without getting the repercussions. So it's been there. We have to find a way of circumventing all those things. We have to find a way of speaking to our children in a way which does not break the law, but also in a way which is promoting our Islamic values and our African values. Those are my
Thank you very much, Jadin. Leila Kaddu, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Olingarie Mawanga, your line is not very good. Right, I'll keep it short. No, I'm saying Olingarie Mawanga. Now you have your daughter and you had a conversation around things.
Yes, about the kids. The thing that's saying that in Uganda they get paid. Actually, kids are not being paid, but they give them materialistic things. So I work with kids. I went with a 7-year-old. She asked me, "Are you married?" I said, "Why?" Said, "Oh, well, I'm a lesbian." Kayira sat down. I couldn't feel my feet. This is a 7-year-old asking me and telling me she's a lesbian.
So
she was adopted.
She wanted you. Did she want you in asking so?
Yeah, she was adopted.
Right.
No. Yeah, she wanted a conversation with me.
All right. Okay.
So when you're having a conversation with these kids, you don't judge them, you let them talk. So I said, all right, then let's have a conversation, sit down. We sat down. So this girl, she told me I've got a girlfriend at school. But when you look at this girl, she behaves like a boy. She
How
behaves
old?
like a
How
boy.
old was she?
Ask the mom, the first of 7. She's 6
Oh,
she's turning 7 next month. Yeah, yeah. So she told me, well, I've got a girlfriend at school. Do you have a girlfriend? I said, no, I don't. She said, yeah, and when I turn 11, I want to leave the house and stay with my girlfriend. But at school, they told me, my teachers, they gave me an iPad. They told me that I have support as well. My teachers like me because I'm a lesbian. Yeah. So the conversation basically is like they support the kids. So back home in Uganda, they financially they give them money, but here they give the kids simple gifts to encourage them that what you're doing is okay. Now this girl has got an iPad, yeah, iPad, iPhone, I think. So now imagine if you go and mix your child with such a child and they say, oh, I've got this, I've got that, they're gonna change their mindset. Yeah. So when I spoke to the foster parents, asking her if she knows what's going on with the daughter, she said, yes, I know. And I'm supporting her. Yeah. This is a 6-year-old telling me this. That she and her friends, some of them have got girlfriends and boyfriends. So we need to talk to our kids.
But Leila, you had a conversation with your own daughter, with your 9-year-old or 11-year-old.
Yeah, and then
what did you ask her?
To this, so when I had a conversation with that girl, I came home and I told my husband. So I called my kids, I talked to them, and my 9-year-old told me, Mommy, it's been all over, even the TV on Peppa Pig. You haven't watched Peppa Pig. She put the Peppa Pig on, say, Mommy, there's 2 mummies and there's 2 daddies. In Peppa Pig, where everywhere kids in this country or in diaspora watch Peppa Pig. Now, if you go and check on Peppa Pig episodes, there's those episodes of 2 mummies, 2 daddies. So parents should be really—
The message is already being communicated in there.
Yes, the message is already there. And you have to ask your kids where they get things from at school. If they give them iPads, everything, they encourage them that what they're doing is okay, they're supporting them. So like what the man said, the one just been about, say, talk to your kids what they learn, what our religion says, and teach your kids and talk to your kids. Right. Because these kids know more than we think they know.
Thank you very much, Leila, for that. And I'm only leaving you so that I can bring in more people. More hands are up. I'll come to Justin, then Haj, then Issa, and then if we are lucky, we'll go to Soweto, because we have another topic that we'll have to touch on. But while I'm bringing in Justin, let me just read this quick message here as Justin unmutes herself. I'll just read this quick message here. Says exactly what Hajat Sarah is saying is true. That is when Hajat Sarah was talking there. My friend brought her daughter from Uganda, who was 15 years at the time. She was a sheikhat in her former Muslim school in Uganda, and she was the only one praying and encouraging her siblings to follow Islam in the family. However, as soon as she arrived here and heard about sex change, she requested for it against her parents' wishes, and now she is a man with a beard and had all the necessary surgeries to make her a man. She was a very well-behaved girl and surprised us all. Well, that's one of the things that is happening. For those who joined us probably late, you will have heard that now there is a big fight that despite all the rights that are coming in with LGBTQ, women have come up to complain seriously, even going to the point of court, to sort of say, we do not accept people who have had sex change to share with us toilets, because there are some pedophiles, there are some rogue persons that might end up just in the ladies pretending to have sort of had a sex change just to have fun looking at the women in the bathrooms, and women have come up strongly against that. Well, those are the sort of conversations that are going on. It's not new, but now it is being influenced according to Regina Namatov saying there. All right, Justin, you have the microphone. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Shay. How are you? Sorry, I've got a bit of a
Sorry for
cold.
keeping your hand up so much. I'm sure it's hurting. Yes,
One second,
Alhamdulillah, I'm
Alhamdulillah.
well. And how are you?
Oh, good, good. Thank you. Sorry. Just a quick one. I know it's a very tactile subject.
Yes.
And it all depends on where we come from. But I think because we've all traveled here, it's all diverse, it's mixed. And it depends on where you work, the people you interact with, and the area you live in. I know some people have said, oh, they're taking back their kids in Uganda, but you won't be there. Are you going with them? Who's going to look after the children? What is the media about what's happening in Uganda? And
Yeah,
also
that's why I'm sure you heard from the headmistress from Lowell Girls.
Yes,
I was
I
hoping,
did.
actually, I think because we've got quite several headmasters, head teachers on the forum actually listening to the conversation, and I was hoping,
no, that is right, because
I was
some parents
hoping
say,
their
oh,
hands would be up, but there are problems there as well.
Uganda. Uganda is worse, let me be honest with you, because they don't have these open conversations. We've been here a long time. We have kids that have grown up here. I, for one, I live somewhere in North London here. I've got a child, what, 21? I know to God, but like when she was 12, I used to go to parents' evenings, and there was a child in her school who was transitioning already. It's what, 10, 11 years ago?
Yeah.
My son is 17. What, five years ago? We went for a school meeting, and this child, he left his dad's car back behind him and was making up his face. It was a boy. Looked at him and said, oh, and he smiled. He goes, oh no, he's gay.
Right.
How do you know? Yeah, he said, oh, everybody knows. The teachers know, we know, the school knows. So it is how you communicate this with the children. You cannot, I know we are there to judge as a society, but it's diverse now. You might not speak to your kids, but they will listen to the other children and they'll get the wrong message. So the onus is up to you. Let them go to class. They'll be told in a child-friendly way. And you too, as a parent, when they come back home, you reinforce what you want them to know. Just like sex education. I know some parents, a few years ago, when they introduced sex education in schools, the Somalian parents took out the kids from school. But you know what? Those same children got secondhand information from these younger children who had gotten it in the wrong way and misinterpreted it.
Right.
If you work in the healthcare profession, I do that. You come across many kids are self-harming.
And now, Justin, the interesting thing is, even in school, I remember in our school days, I think it was P7 when we started studying biology, we would get an introduction to reproductive organs, and there would be a lot of excitement in class, you know. Whenever we came to that subject, everybody would be keen, but that's at the time at, P7, and we were assumed now to be getting ready to grow, to get, become adolescents, because by the time you leave, you're going into secondary life, and life there would be different. But the kind of excitement that came in as well, sort of here would sort of be understandable. But children have other means now. You look at social media and how much exposure we have. The movies that children are watching, whether you put age limit, age restriction, and so on, children have ways of circumventing that. And as long as you're not sat there to say you are watching telly together all the time, they're in their bedrooms on their phones and, chit chat on Snapchat and Instagram and whatever the trash that is out there. There's just way too much information that our children have access to beyond even what we would have expected in normal situations. So you're saying having a conversation would be a better way to go about it?
It's you have to have an open conversation with your children, because if they cannot trust you, because when you go there, these kids are not stupid. When you go, oh, why is it dressed like that? Oh, that must be a drug. And they go, mommy, stop judging. Okay, that's them. These are these kids born and bred here, because they've been taught everybody's their own individual. You respect everybody as they come, as long as they're not interfering with your lifestyle, as long as they're not impacting on anything that you do, you let them be.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Their family has accepted them. It's not your business going correcting people out there. We work in different professions, right? Like where I work, you get kids. I deal with kids and adults, but you get also kids self-harming. It's only when they come in because they've self-harmed and they start talking to you. It's because their family have rejected them because of ABCD. Oh, I can't talk to them. But because they're judgmental or they're Muslims, they say, oh, this doesn't happen in our culture. And then they kill themselves and the mom is crying, oh, they should have told me. I could have supported them.
Thank you very much,
Justin. We have to get a balance. But because
Thank you very much, Justin.
We fear to be judged. We fear to be judged. But you remember, this is your child. I know people say, I'll disown my child, but at the end of the day, you brought them into the world. It's your job to support them.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'll bring in Hajj. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bringing in Hajj, who has been waiting so long. In the meantime, also reading this message from Shamim, who says, I believe we need to create that non-judgmental environment where our children can come to us whenever they have something to say. This will help us and our children to discuss and plant our values into our children. We should not just say that our communities do not support it. I think it's about, again, it's about conversation. Haji, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Go ahead, please. This is 9:46. We are just having 14 minutes to get to the top of the hour, and then we must talk about Hari tonight, inshallah. Haj, you've been listening to the conversation. First of all, your own take so far from what you have had.
Yes, thank you so much. Alhamdulillah. I'm happy that most of the things I wanted to speak that have been spoken by the late Justin Morenju.
Yes.
And I thank her for her contribution. But I've listened to everybody, and it looks like everybody is worried about the products that will come out of the school after this new curriculum is introduced. Now, the thing here, kids are raised up to think independently compared to the way our kids, for example, in Africa or Uganda in particular, because most of the people on this forum are from Uganda, they are being spoon-fed. Here in Uganda, a teacher will come in and write notes on the board, and the child has to have a copy, a notebook, and has to copy everything. So she doesn't have to think independently. But here in the UK, a child is allowed to think independently. I will take back a few years back to Uganda, where we had a very strong epidemic of HIV. And we as parents had to open up to our children who were at puberty level, secondary school kids who were going out, and tell them exactly what was taboo for us to talk to our parents. It was not normal for an African child to talk to his daughter about having sex with a boy. But we started telling them, if you cannot resist, please make sure the boy has got a condom.
Have a condom, yes.
So this was something not easy to tell our children. But those who managed to tell their children straight away, we are able to save their kids. The same way here in UK, there are a lot of vices that are not even in UK, in Africa. There are brothels, there are gambling houses, casinos, there are drinking pubs. There are all activities which involve alcohol.
all of these are in Africa at the moment, including Uganda. All of those that you have mentioned, they are there.
Okay.
And registered in some instances.
But they might be there, but they are not as free as
they're not
here.
At the same level, definitely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there is a freedom for every boy or girl to do what
so Haj, what do you think, what in your view then should we do as we try to sort of wrap up?
Let us allow our kids to be informed exactly what they want to be told. Then they will think independently and they will decide. And this will help to demystify the things that are being talked about LGBT.
And how do we expect the children to make the decision now? Because if see this message, for example, listen to this message from Kitunzi Abu Bakr, I think, who says we are talking about same-sex relationships, but the bigger problem is the system which is encouraging children to grow into what they feel like. Children taking hormone blockers, children going for gender as reassignment, very young children, 16, going for surgery and having their male genitalia taken off. That's too worrying, and we need to talk about these things. You know, these are things that actually go to the fundamentals of life, especially for a Muslim, especially for a Christian, or a Catholic for that matter, or Protestant or Anglican. These are fundamental things that go to the core of our beliefs, and yet, you know, nobody's speaking. What has happened? How have we become so numb that, you know, while the other community is pushing so much, is pushing an agenda, people here are sort of quiet and fearful. It's even now you feel almost apologetic to say I'm heterosexual now. Yet someone can say I'm gay, and that's perfectly fine. It's almost, you know, someone can introduce themselves well and it feels normal. Yet you almost now, should we start saying, and I'm straight as part of an introduction? What should we do going forward?
The fact is, everything starts from your home. If you are in your home, you have got strictness about your faith, the child is going to emulate you. Most of us are Muslims because we are born in Muslim families. If we had been born in two Catholic families, we could be Catholics by today. We are Muslim because we are born in Muslim families. So if you have faith, strong faith of religion that goes against LGBT in your home, you are going to show it to your children. You are going to teach them the Quran. You are going to show them the problem against it in the faith of Allah. But if you are free, independent, and you are not following anything, definitely the child is not going to follow anything. You will have to decide independently.
Thank you very much, Haj. Thank you very much, Haj. Yes, I'll bring in Issa now. Issa, please go ahead. Thank you very much, Haj, for the contribution. I think the Mariam Chisitu says the content is already available. These children know more than what their parents do. Actually, we are sort of doing catch up, and one participant has shared the content, one of the curriculum. Someone was asking about the curriculum. Hafsa, in the technical room, please, you will be able to share on screen at least part of that curriculum. We can share it in some of our WhatsApp groups so that you can have a look at some of these. The curriculum is already out there. And well, I've got a copy here, 8 to 8, L4, lesson 9. And let me just see if I can check a little bit of that. So that one is I don't know whether it is visible, but yes, those are some of the lessons. But we will share it on a WhatsApp group. I think it will be easier for a parent to get some time and read through. So please, as we have 8 minutes to the top of the hour where we'll start discussing Harry. So
hello,
please keep your contribution short. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I think people, they are panicking. Education, the best way to turn things down, upside down. I studied in the Soviet Union for 6 years. When at the age of 19, we are indoctrinated in communism. Any part of scientific communism we are taught us. In the end, people made their judgment. 90% of the Soviet graduates are staunch capitalists and hate the system too much. They teach the children about LGBT, but they make up their mind and end up not liking that thing and to backfire. The other thing we've been talking about, yesterday there was a population census, 1% of those are LGBT. Majority of them are not LGBT. Those guys are vocal, they've got a lot of money, they are very intimidating. The only thing, people shouldn't be much worried about what they're saying. Children are big enough to decide for themselves. Those who have been brought up in the family where there's father and mother and been indoctrinated in the system, it is very difficult to break that background. People have been talking about all those. What they did, we are very much active in trade unions. Whenever we used to do anything about equality, we had to get the support of LGBT to support us. And they band all the laws together. When you're talking about discrimination, black, white, whatever it is, it covers the right of the LGBT as well as the rights of the black people. So when you talk about it's a duty of the parents, tell your children, be open. Discuss those issues with them. Children will make up their minds. People have been talking about religion. We Muslims tend to be more extreme. We have to be very careful about that. Those have got a lot of fund, they can bundle things, turn things against us, calling us so many names, blah, blah, which will be discriminatory to our faith. When I've been talking about the duty of the parent to talk about those issues, but you have to be open with them, accept, and you have to be, especially those who are working. If you are putting up those publications, you should be very careful. Some of you might lose your jobs because you might put up something somewhere, picked up, you go before the panel, termed as being discriminated, and then you end up losing your job. So you have to balance. Yeah, you have to accept that they are there. They're there to stay. For us in Uganda, we keep on saying that it's not there in Uganda. I know when I was growing up, there are some boys who knew that we are gay, and some girls knew that we are lesbian. But because we had the law, drug law, they couldn't come up openly. I had one who was saying that I'll take my girl or my son to Uganda to be there. There is an issue over there because they can't talk up openly, but a number of them are there. So when it comes to that issue, I think we shouldn't be bothered about so much. Doctrine, educate your children. Then they'll pick up, they'll be able to decide what they follow.
Fantastic. And to that, Jaden responds by saying, that's very right, Isa. I nearly got a disciplinary hearing because of calling a girl child a him. Subhanallah. So Ed, you have the last word on this, and then we'll cross topics tonight. We're going to talk about Harry, but from a different perspective. I'll just like to give it a different twist that would be so calm. Let's talk with Kassim Kayira. Just to remind you, that's the program. Kassim, Calm Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. It's 4 minutes to 10 o'clock. Oh my goodness. In the United Kingdom here, I can see people in Uganda still attentively listening to the conversation, and I can only thank you for spending the time. So Eddie, please go ahead. You have 2 minutes so that then we can cross into our next topic quickly, because we shall not spend a lot of time on it. But I would rather, because as a parent, I would like you to come to this topic as a parent, sort of putting yourself in the shoes of King Charles, or putting yourself in the shoes of Prince Harry, and how you would deal with the situation that is happening. We'll do that intro, but let us allow Masawa, first of all, to come on and wrap up on this issue that we have had a lot of discussion about. Yes, so Ed, you have the last word on this.
Thank you. I think you summed it up well when you said a few minutes ago that these guys have, or the LGBT team or group or people have turned the conversation, and now they have made the rest of us to have been put on the back foot. To be honest, it's now, when you're filling in that paper, that application form, and then you come to a point whereby you have to tick whether you're straight or gay or what, whether you choose to be none or none of the above, or you don't want to mention. Yeah, that's where they've put everyone.
Do you have to think twice about it?
Because sometimes you may want the job and you don't know who's going to land on your application. You never know. You might be a gay person that's going to or a lesbian who will think, because the one distinct characteristics I encountered with gay people when I was working with them, every time someone came to me and greeted me, and then where do you come from? And you mentioned Uganda. The one thing they used to come about, Uganda, oh yeah. Then the next thing will be, that's
where they want to kill
LGBT. The next thing they are very harsh on gay people there. We know that. You get it? That is, or straight away they will tell you, they are very harsh on. They have every detail of every country, that's against them. They have, so for those that are saying that, Uganda, it has penetrated, yes, it might be there, but because there's no politician in Uganda that will stand up and say supporting gay people or lesbianism, and they will survive in Uganda. Similarly, here in this country, they've made it that if you go against them, you don't last. Even if you were prime minister, you will not last tomorrow. You will not be in there. The thing that Trump in the US was because he was against the LGBT team, and they have made sure they fail him in the US. So what should we do, Uncle Sheikh Kayira? Why can't we behave like the Qatarians have done? You saw this thing was going to be thrown at them in Qatar, but because they have the muscle of the dollar, the petrol money, they say, yes, we want to be your friends, we want to be part of the global community, but this is my bedroom, this is my territory, and these are my rules. But unfortunately, us, the poor people, the ordinary citizen like myself and say Kayira, ours, it's a bit difficult to navigate through. You say the Jews have done it just because they're powerful. They have their own schools. They have their own systems. Yes. We are not at that level yet.
We don't have schools. We don't have systems. We don't have money.
We don't have money.
Or we have sent all our money onto building houses which have been stolen back home. Yes, you can laugh again. Yes.
Yeah. So at the end of the day,
So what do we do, Soweto? Because you seem to be giving us now sort of well, you're sort of telling us there's nothing we can do.
I know people are against Uganda, but me, I will still stay Uganda because here you are not going to stop it where we are.
Thank you very much, Soweto, because it's 10 o'clock and you've actually been the last voice on that. Ismail Dungu, who hasn't spoken at all, has raised his hand, which is putting me in a very difficult situation. But Ismail, if you're coming in with 1 minute, then I'll allow it and then we cross into hurry so that we don't keep people so long. It's 1 minute past 10 o'clock. The program is Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira. And tonight we are discussing two issues. One, Come September 2023, all schools is going to be compulsory here to teach same-sex education as part of the relationship studies, as well as, transgender issues. And that has been very, very controversial. Some parents have taken the extra ordinary step of taking their children out of school, out of fear for what might lie ahead. But from the conversation tonight, it is while, it is now sort of settled and there's nothing that we can do to change that from a school system, at least as parents, maybe you can have conversations at home regarding what our values are. We respect someone else's decision, but at the same time, respect your own decision even more, while keeping the values. Ismail Dungu, we have 1 minute so that we cross into our next conversation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, I'm here based in the US, in Texas.
Oh, fantastic. Barakallahu fikum. Welcome to the conversation.
Yes. The issue of the gay issue, subhanAllah, is going wild. But the only thing we have to do is to sit with our children and explain them properly how these things work. First of all, I just want to tell you a little bit. And when we go in terms of mechanics, we have the nutty and a what? We have a
nutty, there's screwdriver, there's magaro.
We have a nutty and a ball. The ball goes nutty. Yes. They're called a male and a female.
Oh,
so
yes.
the nutty is a female. The ball, I think in mechanic language they say bring male and a female. That's which is that nutty goes into the msumari, how do you call it? I forgot. The ball, right?
Yes.
Yes. So this thing is already going well wild, but we need to sit our children and explain them how these things work in a good way. We need to love our children. We don't need to be tough on our children. We need to have love with the children and really talk to them nicely and explain them out in our Islam way, non-tough. That's the only way we're gonna stop this issue.
Right, fantastic. Thank you very much. And representing the Cowboys, Ismail Dungu, all the way from Texas, Barakallahu fikum. You had the last word, although I had given away the last word, but you've had the last word regarding this. Talking, having conversations with our children and listening to them, but hearing, sometimes you'll be surprised as to how much they know. You'll be surprised to find that they actually know a lot more than we know. So it might be helping actually for us to sort of get to understand. And Isa here says, teach children your values you stand for, and your children will be able to stand against any other forces. Barakallahu fikum. It's 4 minutes past 10 o'clock. Allow me now to close that particular chapter so that we enter into a new. Today, book went on sale. It is called Spare, as in spare part, where the Prince, the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, has released this book. Before and building up to the release of this book, he has given several interviews, many of them to American broadcasters and then one to ITV here in the United Kingdom, talking about his relationship with the royal family. You will remember, in case you didn't know, what happened with the royal family. He broke away from the royal family because of the pressures. He married a mixed race girl, Meghan, who is now the Duchess of Sussex. And in marrying her, there was opposition in the royal family, coming even from the Queen, apparently, from it initially. But he went ahead, he went with the force of love and married, but it's never been a bed of roses since then. Lack of sort of acceptance within the royal family, that ultimately pushed them and forced them to leave the United Kingdom and move to the United States, where they've been living. He's released this book, and in the book he speaks a lot. There's a lot of stuff about what was happening inside the palace, the lack of support. He particularly attacks the princess consort Camilla, who is the wife to King Charles, attacking her as being opposed, and mistreating, and probably being the person, being the source of trouble at the heart of, the stuff that they went through. That she had been so much against, well, the media had been so much against her that for her to sort of find a way in, she started providing information to the media, which was against Harry. Now that has put in, the royal family in a very difficult situation. Can they respond to that? Allow me just quickly, saw a message in the chat room, which is from Lowell Girls. The headmistress is saying it's been a very healthy discussion. As head teachers here in Uganda, we have taken note. Thank you very much. Yes, and I know it's pretty late. It's actually 1 o'clock now in Uganda. Thank you very much. And we know we have a very busy day tomorrow, still in Chamkwanza at the National Leadership Institute. Hope for the best for you. Thank you very much, Aisha Namkwaya, and the headmistresses, or the head teachers rather, that you are with, listening into the conversation. So back to the Harry story though, I thought from a talk, let's talk with Kassim Kayira perspective, I wanted to take it away. Yes, we could definitely tap into the royal family, but look at it from a perspective of you being the head of the family. In your position, if you're King Charles and before that Prince Charles, what could you have done about a child that seems to have gone rogue, giving away family secrets? But also, on the other hand, put yourself in Harry's shoes, crying out for help since the death of his mother in 1997, the death of which, had a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding it. Hearing the kind of treatment that he received, the fighting with his own brother, Prince William, and how they've ended up in the United States because of lack of support. He's hurting and he's crying out. And in the book, he sort of shows how he tried so much to seek help from the family. He hasn't spoken to his father for quite some time. When the Queen died, he had flown into the UK, sort of building up to that moment. But after the death of the Queen, nobody told him that they were boarding a plane to go to Balmoral Castle, where the Queen's body was lying at that particular moment in time. Only finds out later and then flies separately to go there. It just felt quite wrong. But this is the royal family, which is supposed to be a very protected family. But from a family perspective, as a father in a home, as a mother in a home, how would you deal with a rogue child? How would you handle a situation where, a child just decides to go public and start revealing family secrets? That's the conversation we're going to have in these last few minutes with you, just to sort of hear. Probably you might have practical examples from your own experiences from home and so on. And it would be very interesting just to hear sort of your own take in terms of that. And in this one, I'll just, cross over to you and just get the feeling. First of all, your take. Nilfa, I come to you with your permission. Assalamu alaikum, Nilfa Kasuja. Hello, Nilfa. Are you there? iPhone 14 says it's been a very sensitive conversation and an eye-opener. Thank you very much for the conversation. Nilfa seems to be tied up. I'll just try and find my namesake, Haj Kassim there. Haj Kassim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, Haj Kassim.
Naam, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Good to have you on the program. Good to have you. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you, my brother?
Alhamdulillah. Well, I'm sure you've heard about Harry and his story, the book Spare that has come out. Actually, Spare being, of course, the other one would be the pair, and then he becomes the spare. That's the English way. So he's like the spare part. Since he can't become king in any way, he's not in line in that perspective. Then he talks about his difficult sort of situation within the palace and so on. But I'd like you to maybe just tap into you, looking at, first of all, your reaction, how you feel about Harry and how he has handled this, revealing family secrets and so on. Was that an appropriate thing to do?
Alhamdulillah, inna alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. I would like to thank you so much, Mr. Kayira, my namesake, for the big job you're doing. First of all, thank you for the previous lesson about our kids, the LGBT. It was very, very interesting to hear things. And the world is changing and we need to change, to be honest. We need to adapt to a new way of living a life, whether we want or not. We are going to be forced. So the challenge is, like you said yourself, or all others said, we need to attack this from the grassroots or from the home. The same thing which is happening to Harry now. There's no difference from what we just talked about. The topic you just come from, it relates to Harry.
That was the thinking I had, actually, because I saw a lot of connection between the two. Because if you're having family conversations,
exactly,
then probably we wouldn't be where we are at with the Harry situation.
Exactly. The relationship, the topic you just came from, it just drives into where we are going now, where you are just exactly that. If, for me, I was looking at Harry the other night when he was doing an interview. To be honest, you can feel the boy's heart. You can feel the boy desperate. You can feel the boy, you know, like when you have tapped on every angle of the corner, but you failed. Yes. So I'm not gonna say he's right to do what he has done, but I'm not gonna say he's wrong to do what he has done either. There is a reason why he has come up to reveal everything. That his point is that he has tried so much. He has tried his level to discuss this issue with his family, with his father, with his uncles. Nobody has given him the ears, right? He's been forced to fight with his brother. That thing, as you can see, the boy is talking, but he wants to bite his lips because of the anger, because of the sad story he has. So for me, it is again something. The charity begins at home. If there was a communication between the parents, if there was a communication between the family or the brother or the uncles, or if anybody had really come up and supported, oh, listen to Harry, what is he saying? What is happening? Why is he crying? Then maybe today we might not be in a situation of knowing what we're not supposed to know.
Of getting a bestseller. So, but was he right? I mean, despite anger, and that's why I wanted someone to put this environment inside their own home. How much can you reveal? I mean, however much pain you have. I mean, Aliyah in the chat room is saying, to be honest, I would have kept some things private.
Kayira, yes. We have two different tradition life here. Yes. For us Africans, we are brought in a different way. Kayira, tata wo ne bwabanga yakola ekintu nga kyenkana wa ne bwaba yakunyiza otya. I don't think African man or woman can come up. Simanyi, but I don't think so until he can come up with the secret of the family. Unless, like I said to you, that the world has changed and you see things now happening. But years ago, where I grew up, where you're coming from, Kayira, where I'm coming from, that would never happen. But here, the kids are different brought up. You know that. They can reveal, they can feel, they can talk their feelings. This boy is talking about his feelings as him. He's talking about so many things which he has been going through. He said that the tabloids were paid to tarnish his name, that is a racist. Remember that comment? He said, yes. Why would you say that I'm a racist? Okay, whatever I did, I was wrong. I was a boy, but I'm not a racist. He said, I went to an extra stream to show that I'm not a racist. Do you know why it was meaning? That I went to marry a black woman to show you that I'm not a racist. Do you understand that what is coming? Is coming from his heart. Now he's talking his heart.
But that is by implication, though he never said it. That,
okay, but me, I'm just telling you. Yes.
So that is the tafsir. That is
Balaga. Balaga. Therefore, we are totally different to world to judge Harry. But for me, what he did, he was not right. As
Thank
a
you.
child, there are certain things you have to
keep to the family.
Exactly. Whatever happens, the obuzina bwewaka tobuleta kumeza. It doesn't matter how angry you are, how disappointed you are. There are
Right.
certain things you have to keep away.
Barakallahu fikum Owerinya. Let me just bring in Aliyah. Aliyah, you've been in the chat room sort of angry as well. Talk to me. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa
Do you
barakatuh.
think Harry was right in well going the way he went, going bare knuckle, removing his gloves and sort of telling it all?
To be honest, from my perspective, I've been looking at the royal family, and when Harry and Meghan left, I was kind of on their side, but some of the stuff that he said to the media, he could have kept it private because not everyone needs to know his business.
Like what?
Like the stuff where he was talking about, you know, just like his private stuff that he said in the interviews, like most of the stuff he said that were mainly supposed to be kept off camera was due to the fact that they're obviously going to pay him because he's spreading, you know, secrets about the royals and about his life.
Mm-hmm.
So to be honest, in my opinion, I think he should have just kept it off.
So,
you know, off the media.
In your position, how do you think he would have expressed the kind of pain that he was going through without revealing those details? Because these details have actually brought to the fore. For example, when he speaks about, for example, the princess consort, the Camilla, saying that, you know, she was her stepmom. She is his stepmom. Being the stepmom, sort of saying that because the media had sort of tarnished her image so badly, she was so hurt, and in so trying to sort of mend her image, she mends her image by availing information to the media, and this was like leaking information regarding Harry to the media. Was that way sort of way too much? Because some people actually are saying having brought in Camilla into the conversation removes any possibility of him actually getting reunited with his dad, the king.
I think that you
because
know,
that touches a chord. You talk about Camilla, you've hurt the king. That's at the heart of this entire thing, and that has something to do with their mother, the late Princess Diana.
With like everything that he said, I think there were supposed to be some limits. There's some stuff you don't tell the rest of, you know, the rest of the world, because, you know, the media is quite wicked and they can twist your words very easily. Like, for example, some of the stuff he said about like being racist and how William treated him, or how Kate was towards his wife, it's okay, it's acceptable to tell like the media and the rest of the world so they can be aware of how the royals are being, you know, how the royals are treating him and his wife.
Right.
But it just comes down to the fact, as you know, he could have handled it privately. Like if I was in his position, I would have handled it privately. I would have
privately,
you know,
how? Because he tried even to get an audience with the family, with the father. He hasn't spoken with the father for with the dad, the king, for a long time. The royal family is supposed to be a uniting institution. It's supposed to be the core of the unity of the British people. And within the family itself, there is that. There are those fault lines. Does that not speak volumes just in terms of that him speaking out has brought it to the fore?
I feel like, you know, I'm not judging him, because I've always like, William and Harry are my favorite out of the royals, even though they're not part of it. But I would just say that, you know, family, you get a lot of family problems a lot of the time. And even though like his family wasn't talking to him, he could have, I don't know, there could have been a way to handle it differently than putting on the media, because there's always a way to reach out.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Aliyah. Let me just bring in Hajat Sarah here. Hajat Sarah, you are against Harry's decision to publish what he published. Aliyah, thank you very much.
Yes, he ought to, first of all, he has to respect the family he comes from. He was born a prince, he's a royal, and he knows that is a very strong institution, and he was brought up to respect the privacy within the royal family. For him to disregard that and put his personal feelings against a whole institution is totally wrong and very rebellious. Much as somebody say here, you know, kids here are brought up to be independent and say whatever they have to say, but the royal family is actually the opposite, that they are a closed institution, whereby also, you know, it's similar to where we bring up children, not even in royal, but when you bring up children to say, we Muslims, this is how Muslims will do things, just at a smaller level, and the child grows up and goes out of that institution and brings you somebody else who is not a Muslim and say, accept me as an individual, and then afterwards uses that, whatever you take, you know, we've been discussing about talking to our children and telling them this is what is right for us. Then the child starts distrusting you and disrespecting you and takes to the media what you've discussed. In our case, talks to the social services what you've discussed with them. What you would do is to cut that child out totally, the way King Charles has cut out talking to him because he cannot be trusted.
The palace has refused to respond to all the allegations that have been made. So do you think there is any likelihood? Because as a parent, I think you should be above that. And for me, I actually think the king should be a parent. Does this not speak about him failing? Has he not failed as a parent?
No, we are, you know, as a parent, you don't do parenting via media. Parenting is done within the
but Hajat Sarah, they have not met. They have not met with the dad. So leave alone the media. Have they had probably a private meeting? Or you're saying even the private meeting could end up in the public, and therefore that's why it's not happening.
That is exactly the point. That a private meeting, Harry has not ingrained confidence in the king that he can keep confidentiality. So you would not risk to speak to somebody who is out there, who you don't know their mental capability, how much they can contain what you've told them.
He tried to get help and wasn't helped. He felt like he had not been helped. What do you think was left for him to sort of approach?
He had help. I think there is.
So he didn't have help, and that has come out in the book quite continuously, including through interviews that have been done. He failed to get help, and this book is sort of his desperate cry for the failure to get the help that he should have got, including from his own father. And that's why I'm saying, was there a failure in parenting?
There could have been a failure in parenting, considering that they lost their mother at a very young age, and Charles was, you know, a single parent with lots of royal responsibilities. And we all know, you know, what happens out there. You know, men in the royal family don't look after children. They leave them to the nannies who are highly paid to look after children. We can't forget that.
You've actually brought out the point I was waiting for. And with that, allow me just to move to Soweidi Masawa.
Right.
Thank you very much. Soweidi, you have the mic. Assalamu alaikum once again.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is another
we
one.
are back to you now. Yes, Harry and the book.
This is another one that is very interesting. I must say that personally, I'm not a fan of the royal family. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the royal family, because of the way, naturally, not just this royal family, but naturally, I'm a Republican. I don't believe in kingdomship and monarchies and all that. So anyway, back to the point. When Harry and Meghan held their first interview with Oprah, to be honest, everyone was in for it. We all supported it. Everyone wanted to watch the interview. Everyone sympathized with them. Everyone was like, wow, is this what they've been doing to them? However, this time around, I think they've gone too far. Yeah, I think they've gone too far. And some of us have even now started critiquing this woman. I'm beginning to believe that somehow she has manipulated this boy. I'm sorry for the women who are on here if I'm going to hold women on this one, but I think Megan has had a role in this one in terms of pushing this boy to come up with this, because she's an actress. Remember, this woman is an actress. She can.
So, Eddie, how would you respond to Musa Chags, who in the chat room is saying Harry has been living a wild life, and therefore to assume that Megan was responsible for this, I think is sort of misplacing responsibility.
Yeah, that one, I will not underestimate that. But however, the role played by Megan cannot be also underlooked in this whole drama and episode, because she's an actress. She knows how to make the money. She knows which buttons to touch to get money out there. They are living a lavish lifestyle, a very expensive lifestyle. They need to save for their future. They need to save stuff for their children who have been stripped off of some sort of titles. So to me, I think Harry was wrong. Yeah, because personally, I'm speaking from a personal experience. I've had kids in the family who have gone out there and ripped the family apart in terms of revealing family secrets, because every family out there, they've got their own secrets that you will not want other people out there to know.
So Ed, you are the father now, you are King Charles in that role, in that particular role. How would you deal with this sort of situation? Do you let Harry go for good? He's your son.
No.
How do you bring back this prodigal son?
No. Just like the assertion by Hajat Sarah. The trouble is they are not trusting this boy. They don't know, because I'm sure when they want him tomorrow, they can reach out to him. They can send their mediators or people. They can hire a private jet to have him in Buckingham Palace tomorrow to talk to him. But they don't know what he will say after that meeting. They are not trusting him. They can charter him a plane to get him to Buckingham Palace the next day to have a conversation. But again, he will go back to the media.
This is an extended program of Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. I'll try to bring in, so wait, I've heard you loud and clear. Let me bring in Rehma Mabuya, who has been hot in the chat room as well. Rehma, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, Rehma. Ajat Rehma, are you there? Ajat Rehma, you have the mic. Ajat Rehma Mabuya, I think probably is at work. But there is a message in the chat room here, which I think is quite heavy, which is someone is even questioning, is he a royal? Who knows if I'm your real father? Harry claims Charles made a poor taste joke during rumor that he was a son of Princess Diana and her ex-lover, Major James Hewitt. That now keeps, Rehma is here. Rehma, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much for joining us. It's your second time actually speaking on the program. Yes, I've seen you saying Harry was wrong.
No, I'm not saying he was.
Are you supportive of Harry then?
Somehow, yes.
Yes.
I think he cried. Maybe he's an attention seeker sort of, but I think if they had earlier on maybe listened to him or given him a shoulder to lie on, because he's been crying for a long time and nobody seems to listen to him. Imagine you're abandoned by your father, you're abandoned with your brother, he's left with nobody. So I think it's just that lack of, the families abandoned him. It was only the grandmother who was there for him, that he was hanging on to that. And since the grandmother is been gone, that's it. He's left with nobody now. So I think he's just, if maybe they had sort of involved him or whatever, but I think they've sidelined him too much. And I think right from the beginning, I don't think he got along with Camilla anyway. So it's just escalated everything. Yes. So I don't not say what he's done is good to bring out everything about the royals, but I think for a long time, people have said stuff about the royals anyway. They don't, not everything they do is right, but I don't know. I don't know if they are family business, but.
Thank you very much, Rema. Thank you. And I come to Jaden. Jaden, once more. Well, it's been shared on the screen. I think those of you who are looking at the screen, you could see the Daily Mail sort of clip that I was just mentioning, the clip where a bad test joke was made by the king, then Prince Charles, sort of saying, who knows if I'm even your real father? And Harry is claiming that Charles made that poor test joke during rumor that he was the son of Princess Diana and her ex-lover, Major James Hewitt. Yes, Jaden, was Harry right or wrong? You are a parent. Put yourself in Harry's shoes. Hello, Jaden. Jaden is disappeared. Oh, do I go to Isa?
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Sorry, I was struggling to unmute myself.
Oh, right. Yep. Sorry.
I think in support of Harry, for one reason, is that we've always thought that the royals are a special breed of people and they're not capable of doing certain things. But from what Harry is brought out in his book, is showing that they are actually humans and they eat and breathe and behave like as other humans. And the reason I'm saying that is because when we pay our taxes and support the royal family, we believe they are above certain things, but they quarrel like everybody. I had an older brother and we used to punch each other. That's what normal families do. So Harry coming out the way he's done is showing us that these are normal people. They are not different from, they may be rich, they may be comfortable and so on, but they are real families. They need to be listened to, which the father is not listening to him, and that's why he's come out. Our children may behave the same. If you don't listen to your child, okay, they may not reveal things like that, but they'll use a different format of communication. The only thing I don't agree with Harry is his statement about killing the 25 Talibans.
That has put him in even a more difficult position, because now it means they have to put security on him, actually extra security on him at the moment.
Because once you have been in the army, you don't count the bodies, you count the wars that you have been into. Yeah. You know, we've beaten them, tuliwashinda, walitukimbiza, you know, things like that. They beat us, we beat them, but you're not going to go into the specifics of killing people. How sure is he that he killed 25 people, unless it was a firing squad? Because you are shooting at people who are in hiding or people who are running away, or you are using a weapon that destroys en masse. So for him to pinpoint that he killed 25 people brings a lot of question, not just for himself, but for the British Army.
And you're right, Jaden, because there has been a lot of response or reaction from the military. But it seemed to me, I think I received this in two ways. Sort of government sort of pushing some senior army officers to sort of come and say, go and speak against it. I don't know whether they were speaking of their own volition in their own personal capacities, but several army officers came out and they were sort of quick to say this was absolutely wrong, including a young officer that was actually on that same, you know, that same mission that Harry was on in that Apache helicopter that was used to shoot down those 25 Taliban. But that has, of course, now put them in a difficult position. But as a father, you know, as head of a family, how would you deal with a situation like this? Now, put yourself in King Charles's shoes at this moment in time. This is your blood. This is your son.
I think I would start by inviting him back home and say, come and we sit around this table, or let's go for a walk and talk these things over. You know, I know you are being hurt, you're being injured. This is your wife. You're starting a new journey with your wife. What is the problem here? There's no problem that is so big that a parent cannot discuss with their child. We've just been talking about homosexuality and things like that. Those are very sensitive and very big issues which you can speak to your children about. So how about just about writing a book about a disagreement within the family? So King Charles should act as the parent. He should act as an adult. And he should act as
Why
a
do you
leader.
think that is still difficult at the moment?
He doesn't want to play into the hands of the media. I think that's my take, because if he calls Prince Harry to the table, the media will jump onto that as a sign of weakness from a royal. Remember, right, they are not meant to bow to us. We are meant to bow towards them. So if he bows towards his son, that's a sign of weakness to a royal or to a monarch. So he wants to wait until that time when Harry probably comes crawling back to him. But I don't see that happening.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we have 10 minutes because we are stopping at 11:15. We have 10 minutes of the program, inshallah, to sort of delve into more details. Isa, I'll give you in so that I wanted to get some new speakers, people who haven't spoken at all, and I'll be pointing to you. Please be ready to just come in into the conversation. Please just take your time and, well, contribute into this. We have 10 minutes. Isa, yes, was Harry right, or was
I'm sure deep down, when Harry have a go at Kayira, both William and Harry are on the same wavelength. The thing is, it's been known from Dana's interview some 20 years ago when he said the marriage was crowded. And from day one, Kayira was making her life a hell, and the one brought his marriage down. So when those children were growing up, the father was very busy with his girlfriend or side chick. So the children, they lost their mom. The dad was more absent. He was more interested in his affairs with his wife, Kayira. So from his record, he didn't say anything about the Queen Elizabeth or the Duke, because the people brought Harry when he was growing up. They're the one who was responsible for his upbringing. So it's coming to backfire because he was not around. And Charles knows as soon as he picks that issue with Harry about Kayira, the press will jump on him.
Just thrive on that, yes.
Thrive on that, and they'll make life hell for.
It is also his best friend.
So the king is trapped. He can't be soft on his son, and he can't be hard on his son, because the issue is his wife, the consort Queen Kayira. The public has never accepted. Believe it or not, the public can never accept Kayira to be the queen. So Charles is walking a thin line. That's why he decided to keep quiet, because he's just waiting after the coronation, then he'll be able to deal with his son. At this moment, he fears the repercussion from the public, whether they accept Kayira as a queen consort or they'll reject it.
Thank you very much, Isa. Rabab Munta, assalamu alaikum. Rabab, are you there? Hello, Rabab. We are just in our last 10 minutes now. Well, less than 10 minutes now. Yeah, 45, 1:45, we should be closing, inshallah. But I think as a parent now, and I would just like you to sort of put yourselves in both situations. Why don't we actually hear from the Americans, probably, what their take is? Hafsa, how is that playing in the US? Because the US is too big. You're always involved in a lot of other things. Sometimes you just forget we even exist. But how does it play in the US there? Hello, Hafsa. Hello, Asfa, are you there? Or are you going to pray? Okay, let me just try to dig into a little bit of some of the people who haven't spoken, probably who are not at work as well. I'd just like to hear their own take. Aisha, but I tell you what, I was trying to get to you just to hear you now, especially from the ladies' perspectives to hear now. There's a lot of accusations being thrown around that Meghan has been behind Harry's decisions and what he's doing. Yes, Harry has found himself in this position because of Meghan to an extent, but do you think, how much of an influence do you think she's been to writing this book? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, do you blame Harry or Meghan for the book that is now looking what it's looked at the moment?
First of all, I love the royal family so much, but I didn't want him to reveal the secrets of family.
That's like very opposite Soweto Masaba, who doesn't like royal families. Yes. So you didn't want the secrets to be revealed.
Yeah, but as you know, charity begins at home. Harry was left hanging in the air after his mom passed away, and his dad was a little bit busy with other stuff and issues. And that counts me to pray for all the moms that they can live long and look after their kids, because we've seen this happening now. We have a live example. We pray to Allah that keeps us to live and look after our kids when they grow up. Because once the woman leaves the family, things go wild. As to me, but I didn't really like Harry to do what to reveal the secret. But all I know people are not saying about when Harry started living, before he was saying he's going to leave to go to Canada, whatever he went first, his grandma and the family called him for like three times to have a meeting, and we didn't know what came out of those 3 meetings, but they had to, because they were trying to see that things are going to go farther away. But we don't know what happened to the family. And as for Charles, we can't do nothing because Harry has been a very naughty child. And not only that, it's backfiring upon them of her mom's death, because whatever protected with it was because of the family that was destroyed. So it's just unfortunate. It has come back to them in that way. That's all I have to say about it.
Do you think it can be mended? Do you think they can get back?
At this time, I don't see any point of mending it, because everything is being put out in public, in social media. So even people in my village in Chibut, I think they know about that.
They'll definitely have heard, especially about the sale of the book, which has broken records. Today, people woke up as early as 3 a.m. to go and buy a book. And the interviews have been playing.
So
yes.
I don't think it can be mended, but they just have to cover the rest of it. And everyone is questioning them now. So I don't see how we can mend it, only to just go with it. But for me, if it was my son, I would just ignore, give him a big ignore, because I don't see what you can do more. Because once you get fight in the first place and you let everything go out, that means you can nothing. So that's
Abu Mariam is saying yet I nachamanyi wogambye nti nabo mu kyalo kye bamwe know it, he doesn't know anything. But well, the program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. Thank you very much, Aisha. And we are live on 75W Radio. We are live on Umma Connected. It's been a very, very wonderful night, and I cannot actually thank you enough. Let me just bring in one US person. Zena Mbega, I'd like to bring you on just to speak on behalf of the Americans, how this story is playing out there. Because I was trying to get Hasfa to come on and just probably give us an idea. Zena, are you there? Are you able to unmute yourself, please? Go ahead. Hello, Zena. Yes, I'd like to hear how this is playing in America. Is it something you're following at all? When the Oprah Winfrey interview happened, we all knew about it, but this one has been, and yet it's been American media houses that have been doing the interviews. First of all, how is this playing in America? Have you heard anything?
Assalamu alaikum. You know how Americans love the royal drama, but anyway, the media. I'm still gonna be Team Harry, but the thing is, and thanks for not getting Hasfa. Maybe she would have said she's Team the royal family. Anyways, the thing is, there's one quick thing. The worst thing is that the king denounced being the father. That's a very, very bad thing. That stays in the kid's mind. And even fathers these days that keep telling women that, oh, I don't think this kid is mine, even jokingly, that thing stays in anybody's mind, the mother, the kid. So whatever pushed this, it's because there's a lot of things that were going on, but I think mainly is that, because he already knew that he's not considered a royal. So at this point, I don't know what you guys wanted him to do. They pushed him away. He's an outcast. To me, I'm behind him. The kid was left alone. There's nothing. I know that there are those values of, you're royal, but at the same time, they're not considering him royal, So
they're not considering that he's also a human being who deserves care, who deserves attention. How do you think this can be resolved? How do you think this is going to play out finally?
Well, if someone is talking about reconciling, if he tries to reconcile, they will murder him. This is not the first, I'm sorry to say this, I'm not scared of a drone all the way over here. But I'm just saying, I think he needs to stay as far away as possible from them. Because those people, the fact that they're not even coming out to say anything, they're more dangerous than you think. We've already seen this with Diana, like, you know, everybody loved Diana.
Wow.
And, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm so disappointed in the royal family, because there's where there is smoke, there is fire. You can't say that, you know, 100% of those things that he said, maybe 95 is true and 5 is not. But the little things that, I mean, the things that are true, they are really embarrassing for the royal
they are
family.
very embarrassing. Thank you very much,
So
Zena.
that's my point. Yeah,
thank you very much. And actually, this is the end of the program, which has been very, very interesting tonight. I thank you all for the time you have spared to come into the conversation. Difficult conversations, to be honest, but this one, the last one, has been sort of a lot of blame throwing and blame removing, but ultimately it's about parenting. There is parenting at the heart of this, and how you could deal with crisis within our own homes. Of course, crises happen, you know, with ordinary people, even in royal families. In Saudi Arabia, you remember the crisis that happened, especially when King Salman was coming on, and then his son, Mohammed bin Salman, and what has transpired, especially with the Khashoggi situation in Turkey. In Uganda, in the Buganda kingdom, there were issues with the royals, especially with the princes who wanted to challenge Kabaka Mutebi. There were issues surrounding that, and they managed to sort of deal with them. There was sort of, the manner in which they were dealt with was sort of a lot of cover-up, which of course happens. In Toro Kingdom, you remember, it ended up with even one of the princes being killed in mysterious circumstances, and even a whole prime minister of the kingdom John Katuramu going to prison. You'll remember that. In Ankole, the kingdom actually was never allowed even to take off. The Mugabe the Barije didn't even get a chance to be able to sit on the throne. In Kasese with the Rwenzururu kingdom, you know what has been going on with the Mumbere and the crisis, even probably trying to find a replacement from within the family that would come to challenge him. In Bugisu, there is the Mungoho. In Busoga, there was a whole crisis again with the person who was supposed to be the Chabazinga, 2 brothers, I think, who were contesting for that, and they were in fights and all of that was coming in. Well, I thank you very much, and a very busy chat room it has been today. Fantastic conversations tonight. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Inshallah, hope to see you next Tuesday, same time, 8 p.m, as we delve into another very interesting topic. Rehma Mawia says if Charles cared, he would have intervened earlier and all this wouldn't have happened. Very nice words, probably, to end the show on. My name is Kassim Kayira. The program is Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira. We've been live on 75 Dabi Radio, live on Umma Connected. We're on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a very good night, everyone.